FreeGame.
What's up, y'all? This episode is brought to you by DistroKid. DistroKid is a service that musicians use to put music into online stores and streaming services. This includes iTunes, Spotify, Apple Music, TikTok, Amazon, Deezer, Tidal, and many more. DistroKid collects earnings and payments and sends 100% of the earnings to artists. Artists can also pay their collaborators. You can also get a hyperfollow to get more Spotify followers and promote your releases. DistroKid is also the first distributor to send music to TikTok. Use this link to get 40% off your first year's DistroKid membership. DistroKid.com/VIP/FreeGame. All that information is in our description. Holla at your boy.
Welcome back to the FreeGame Producer Podcast. We got a very, very, very special guest in studio here at the Bandwidth Studios in Atlanta, Georgia. A very, very dope producer, vocal producer, songwriter. I mean, his credits are just pioneer. You know, people talk about legends and they use that word so loosely, but they don't really have the accolades to back it up.
Right.
But this gentleman has been producing for a very long time, all the way from Boyz II Men, SWV.
Yes, sir.
Ronald Isley, the great Aretha Franklin, my hometown hero, you know what I'm saying? Yep. All the way to your newer artists like K. Michelle, Jacquees. I heard you talk about the work you did with Lil Duval, that record with Tank and Lil Duval and Jacquees.
Oh, yeah.
Know, just extensive, multiple Grammy-award winner.
That record was turned up, by the way.
Multiple Grammy-award winner Troy Taylor is in the building. How you doing, sir?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Yes.
It's a blessing.
I'm super excited today. First off, sir, thank you for coming to the FreeGame Producer Podcast. This is a crazy honor of ours.
Facts.
We have been fans of your work for a long time.
Oh, wow.
We are well versed on who you are and what you've done. This is going to be a great conversation. And I just like to thank you because I know you're very busy. We have a lot of friends that we work with together. And, I hear your name all the time on people's workloads and things like that. And it's just amazing to even get you here. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
I like to just start with my first experience with you.
Go ahead.
This is when I kind of felt like I got on. Like I knew I had made it on as a producer.
Okay.
I got invited to a panel. It was just so, you know how these music panels be and stuff. But it was myself, Troy, and one other person. But I just remember the feeling I had being able to sit on a panel with him. And I was just like, dude, look at God. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And in that panel, I got so much game from you. Because, they were asking all kinds of questions and stuff. But the dopest part about it for me was just your humility and the way that you were just able to connect with people, even though you've done so many great things. It helped shape the way I try to approach things as well. With any type of success that I might have, I always think about the humility that I witnessed in that early panel that I was on. It was so crazy. So,
that was nice.
You don't realize how you touch people's lives really until way down the road. So let's get into this thing, man.
Speaking of touching people's lives, we love to do like origin stories here because the hope is that somebody sitting at home that's trying to make it will hear something about your coming up story that can like ignite a spark in them and help them. So where you are from originally?
I'm from New Haven, Connecticut originally.
Nice. Nice.
Born and raised.
What were your influences growing up there musically?
So I'm from just the church, growing up in the church doing music. I was more of a churchy R&B kid, which means I would go to church and then come home, listen to radio.
Right.
Thing, rather than just be churchy. There's a lot of musicians that are churchy musicians. I wasn't that, but I did play in the church. But,
okay. What did you play?
Keys.
Okay.
Yeah, but I wasn't the main musician. I was like this synthesized keyboard guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, that was my start in doing talent shows and being in groups and all that.
So how did that lead to you end up being signed to Motown Records? Was it?
Oh no, that's not that quick.
Okay.
No, it's not that simple.
Break it down for us if you don't mind.
So there was a local rapper that I was producing.
Okay.
And so a couple of the songs that I did the hook on.
Okay.
And that was before it was like really popular do rap, hooks on rap songs. It wasn't. I didn't create it. What I'm saying is, but people were starting to do it, but it hadn't been blown up yet.
Okay.
But when the rapper had found someone to start shopping his music, and then when we started going to New York, in the meetings, the people would always ask, who's the person singing?
Okay.
And so I would say me, but I'm the producer. I'm not, so you guys are together? And I'm like, no, I'm the producer. And at that time, what's important for me to note is that the group that I was in at that time, it was really shaky. Okay. And the girl that I was with, it was really shaky.
Okay.
So I was really, really done. I was really done with being in New Haven and being home. I really wanted to get out. So when the opportunity came that they wanted to sign the rapper, but they wanted to sign me with the rapper, I kind of like jumped at the opportunity.
Okay.
But too anxious doing so, it was the worst deal ever. And because I was so ready to leave, I didn't do it properly. I didn't get an attorney. I signed a bad deal. And I tell this story often because there are a lot of people who are so anxious to get started, to get going, that they don't really focus on, paying attention to the little details, and they make these huge mistakes. And I run into them all the time because, I'm signed to such and such. I've been signed for 2 years, you know what I'm saying? They got me in this deal and da-da-da. That's this cliche story with all this new, with young talent. Yeah. They've always either signed something horrible or they got, they're attached to something. Yeah. So I tell this story because I do understand what it's like to rush into something and it just totally... Well, so now, of course, being a teenager, you hear you need to get a real job. It's music. You need to get a real job. Woo. So my job that I chose was work at record stores.
Smart. And not to interrupt, got back to it. What were you producing on back then? This is a producer podcast. What kind of equipment were you using back then?
Yeah.
So I had a Yamaha 8-track. And I was using the EPS 16 Plus and the sequential circuit drum machine, as well as an HR 16 Plus drum machine, as well as the DX7, I'm a Yamaha DX7, as well as the Juno 106.
Classics.
Yeah. Those are things that I would, accumulate over time, with birthday presents and Christmas gifts. And when my mom asked me what I want, I always made sure I got the opportunity to do that. So those were the things I was using at the time. And that was in my room. So I was the kid who, played the demos on my cassettes, and I'm doing all the background vocals, and everybody's like, "Oh, that's you too."
Wow.
And
all in your room.
Right, all in my room.
Nice.
So that's what I had, and most of the time, I would always have a house full of people, like a room full of people. My mom, that's still to this day, nothing has changed.
Right, we're gonna get into that too. I definitely, for sure.
Okay, so you work in the record stores.
Mm-hmm. So I work in the record stores, and it allowed me to have access to, of course, the music.
Yeah.
And also, one of my favorite things to do is read credits. That's like the most interesting thing to do. And so I had a few people in mind that a little bucket list, if you will, if I ever meet these people, kind of thing. So when I signed this horrible record deal independently, they asked me who did I want to get to mix the single. And so I said Timmy Regesford. He was one of the people I wanted to meet. So I didn't know him, and I didn't know if they knew him.
Yeah.
So it was like a roll the dice kind of thing. Right. And so they was like, yeah, get Timmy on the phone. I was like, whoa. Yo, about Timmy Regesford. Now, Timmy was an executive at Motown.
Nice.
And he was an A&R, and also he did a lot of mixing for other people. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So upon that, knowing that I'm about to meet the Timmy Regesford, he was credited for signing Today, the group Today.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Roddy's
Big
group.
Bub them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Big Bub and them. And, he had a lot of accolades and things that he's done. And he was, his boss at the time was Gerald Busby. So upon getting ready to meet him, there was a certain few things that I did that I didn't think would actually come into fruition, but I just was creative. Okay, so let me explain. I figured if I meet Timmy, I'm going to pick 3 songs to play him. Not the songs though, just the tracks. And I'm hoping that he will like the tracks and then ask me if I have songs to them. And then I will say yes. And then he will say, let me hear them. And I will say I don't have them with me, but I can come back.
Yeah. Yo.
Free game.
So
and it went just like that, right?
It was all in my head. This was the first time I ever was in a studio to watch a song be mixed on, this is tape. This is not Pro Tools and all the auto-tune and all these things these kids have now. So watching him mix, I sat in the back. I was only 20. And so I'm sitting there watching all of this go down, and then he took a break. He took a little break. And so while he was in the lounge eating, I said, first I said, thank you for mixing my record. And I said, but I have something, else could I play you? And he was like, yeah, sure. So he just sat down and I played 1 track. He's eating, he's nodding his head to it, played 2 tracks. And in the middle of the second one, he goes, where's the songs?
Right.
I was like, I have songs to him. Well, let me hear the songs. I said, well, I don't have them with me. I didn't bring them with me, but I can come back because this was in New York. And so I said, but I can come back. He said, okay. That was on a Monday, by the way. And so he said, all right, well, we'll set something up Wednesday and come back.
Nice.
Look at that. And that's it.
And that was it. So when I came back this time meeting up with him at Motown.
Come on, man.
And so I brought a bag of cassettes. I had a lot of songs at that time. And, we sat in the office for hours and just playing the music. And that relationship developed. And he never understood, what are you doing over there?
Yeah.
Why are you on that label?
Right.
Like, why did you, And I told him I was really anxious and I really just needed to get out.
Yeah.
So lo and behold, after that, just building a relationship, going back and forth, coming back, he invited me a few times, back and forth. He ended up buying me off.
Nice.
And so I got out of that horrible deal and I signed to Motown.
That's dope.
So within signing to Motown, now I'm an artist. By the way, I need to mention, once I found out how horrible that deal was, sorry about that.
No worries.
The mission was to get off the label because it was horrible. So we devised a plan to get off the label, but they wouldn't let me go, but they let the rapper go.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
And they wasn't letting me go, so I was stuck. So upon getting bought out, when he bought me out, I was by myself. So upon doing that, there was different artists on the label. And because I had a lot of songs, Timmy introduced me to Gerald Busby one meeting, and he sit down. Gerald had this pad, and Timmy just playing all this, songs for Gerald, and Gerald is writing down the songs that he likes. And while he's playing the songs, he's recording a cassette for Gerald to leave with, because Gerald lived in L.A. So upon doing this, Gerald picked 4 songs for this artist, 4 songs for this artist. And because I did a lot of harmonies, I was known for a lot of harmonies. I did a lot of arrangements and stuff like that. My songs always sounded like groups.
Wow.
So there was 2 groups on Motown at that time that Gerald was like, these would be awesome for. One group was Today, and then there was this kid group that they have sitting for a year that, they didn't do anything with, the whole time they were young. And so he put 4 songs over here, he put 4 songs over here, and it was like, okay, now it's time to meet. But a couple of weeks later, they set the weekends apart. The first weekend would be this group, and then the second weekend would be this group recording these 4 songs. Mm-hmm. So by this time, I'm 22. So just to give you a timeline. And so they told me that one of the groups was in town, and I was gonna meet them. So when I came in, I went into the office, went into the lounge, not the lounge, the conference room, and these kids from the ages of 15 to 17, one was 15, one was 16, and two were 17. Mm-hmm. And so I come into the room, and let me back up. When Timmy was making the cassette for Gerald, he played one particular song that was going to be from my album. And remember, he was making a cassette, so when he played that song, I had to wait till he finished playing it to say, it's my song.
Can't skip to the next one.
That song's for me. Oh, okay, no problem. So Timmy rewound the tape so that he can continue making the cassette, but he played another song and recorded over that song.
Oh,
so
wow.
that he picked another song and recorded over that. I had to make them mention that. So now I'm coming to meet this group, and so I sit down, and I'm like, what songs did y'all like? What songs? And so they always naming songs. They was naming songs. Can't Be Like by Everybody. Oh, okay, yeah. Just to Cover Up. Yeah, okay, cool. I really like one of the guys. I really like Little Things. I was like, okay. And then the youngest one was like, there was one song I really, really liked, but I didn't catch it all. And I was like, what? What do you mean? He said we didn't hear it all. And I didn't understand what that meant. I'm like, do you remember any lyrics? Or do you remember how it goes? And he was like, there's something about your love or something too hype or something. We just caught the tail end of it, but it seemed like it was really good. So I was like, oh,
my song.
You weren't supposed to hear that song. That's why you caught the tail end of it, because that's for my album.
Yeah.
And so it got really got really awkwardly quiet. So I'm like, okay, so sing something. Hey, I haven't heard you guys sing anything, sing. So they were a very, very dope and known to be a dope, extremely dope a cappella group, but they had not been in the studio yet.
Yeah.
So Motown didn't know what to do with them yet. Kids sang about 7 to 8 seconds, I swear to you. And I was like, oh, hold up, stop. They sang a Take 6 song.
Oh,
and back
God.
then, Take 6 was the thing.
That was it. Yeah.
And I'm like, whoa. Okay, that's fine. That's great. I looked at the young kid and I was like, you can have a song. But they didn't know what I was talking about. They were like, first of all, remember, I stopped them mid singing.
Yeah.
Like, abruptly. Hey, y'all ain't got to sing no more. So they thought something was wrong. I'm casually just being like, I'm good. And you can have a song.
Yeah.
So they're like looking at it's like, what's wrong? I'm like, yeah. Remember the song you said you wanted? And he's like, yeah, y'all can have it. And they still didn't know what I was saying. So I was like, I don't need to hear anymore. You guys, that little bit I just heard, I'm good. You guys, that's it. I don't need to hear nothing else. And so they go, can we finish? I was like, sure.
Go ahead.
But I'm telling you, I'm good. And so they finished, and that was it. And so that song ended up going on their project. That group ended up being, as you know, Boyz II Men.
Wow.
And so a year later, they were known all over the world.
Yeah,
and
man.
that was super like, wait.
Yeah.
Right.
Wait. There was this funny looking kids from Philly.
Yeah.
And now they got the Alex Vanderpool gear on, the
Going
way
crazy.
Biv dressed them up, and
Right.
they're all like Motown Phil. I'm like, whoa. And the first thing that came to my mind was, you mean to tell me that I can do something like this, get the same fulfillment without being in the front?
There it is. Over and over again.
And I had already worked with the other group too, which was Today, Big Bub and them.
Yeah.
So it was like, I don't want to do this.
Right.
Probably being an artist, you mean?
Yeah, I don't want to be an artist. I like being behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So I went and told Timmy, and ironically enough, because Motown was about to close their New York office and only be in LA, I was a New York artist, signed New York artist, Motown New York. So it was like they were going to have someone pick up my project in LA. So when I told Timmy, I don't think I want to be an artist, it was fine because it was like, oh, you sure? I'm like, yeah, I don't want to do it. Now, let me stop there and say the reason why I did not want to do it is because I'm a little too real, and I saw that there's a game to this whole thing and being an artist.
Yeah.
And if you don't play it right, you can mess up.
Right.
What do I mean by that? Well, if you're in an interview and they're asking you questions and you're not politically correct, it could do some damage. And I'm just abrasive. I'm just especially I was 22, so I was worse. So I already knew that if I get out there and
say the wrong thing,
this ain't gonna be good. I'm not. And so, it was probably one of the best decisions I ever made, because my attitude was this: I can produce for this. This doesn't work, but this does. I'm still good. Yeah. But if I come out and it don't work, that's it. Because people are gonna remember, oh yeah, and I'm going to try to produce them. They're gonna remember me when my album flops. That's right. So why am I taking songs from him? He's whack. You know what I mean? That was my way of
very fair
thinking.
assessment.
So they let me out, and I continued to produce. But the fulfillment of going into the record store, I lived in Brooklyn at that time, so going into the record store and ripping open a CD, because now we're at CDs now, and seeing my name, because remember in the beginning, I loved reading credits. So now I'm reading a credit with my name on it. Yeah. I scream. I'm telling you, I screamed. It was Big Beat Beat record store in Brooklyn downtown, and they was like, "What's wrong? This is me. Look. That's me. That's me. I did those songs." But let me go back and tell another important part of this story that is it's essential for our podcast and telling. When I did those 4 songs, Gerald Busby was so excited. The label was so excited. They sent us fruit baskets and they congratulated us, because remember, they were signed for about a year and never did anything. Nothing. Right. So for them to hear them in these, on these songs, that was a big deal. Yeah. Well, Timmy Regesford, the guy who signed me, got me out of the deal, he suggested don't do any more, because they wanted to continue to work with us. And I was prepared, but then Timmy suggested not just leave those 4 songs, don't do any more. And I didn't understand. I'm like, well, why? He's like, you listen, trust me. You did 4 songs, you're good. You don't want to do too much, because if something happens, if it don't work out, you guys are So the only problem with that was I had already told Gerald Busby that we would do it. Timmy called like 20 minutes after, telling me that Gerald's gonna call, and he's gonna ask you and say no. So I'm like,
already did.
He already called, and we said, yeah, because why? I mean, why not? He's like, you don't want that responsibility. Now this is a man that bought me off of this horrible deal. Yeah, I couldn't. Yeah. So we ended up having to tell Gerald that we're good with the 4, and the group ended up sitting for a few months. Yeah. Because of it. And I tell that part of it because that shows loyalty. Even though this was like the biggest part of my life, Timmy got me out of my deal, man. Yeah. Like, I'm not gonna defy him, you know what I mean, for what he's done. And
that speaks to how people should move and don't move anymore.
Don't do that anymore.
Yeah, like so many times, someone's been instrumental in making something happen for you, even if it's just like a major cosign or just I vouch for that. And then you see people totally forget that.
They don't forget.
You're right.
Don't forget. You're being nice. They don't forget. Yeah. People feel like if it's an opportunity they take it.
Yeah.
And you're wrong for telling them not to.
Yeah.
Because they've missed the point of the
Yeah.
opportunity. Like,
Right.
you know, relationships makes the money.
Yeah.
You jumping over the relationships to make the money runs out. You
Money
need
runs out.
relationships to keep
Yes.
it going. And so they don't understand that part. But I knew that stuff. I knew that part earlier on because it just didn't feel right.
Yeah. Right.
Forget what was right. It didn't feel good to know that he told me not to do this,
Yeah.
and I'm not going to sit there and go and do it,
Go and do it
anyway
anyway.
after all he's done for me.
Right.
And so when I tell that part of the story, I tell that for this generation now because they have no idea what that
is.
means
Yeah.
to
Facts.
be loyal, and even if it means an opportunity that may seem like it's great, the relationship you have with that person that more things could come, that one thing right there might not be
Right.
worth it. So you can't
Facts.
tell these kids now.
Yeah.
No, not at
Yeah.
all. So they sat for a little while and then they went on to meet Dallas Austin. And then the rest
History.
is history.
I love
and
it,
then
man.
they ended up keeping 2 of my songs, not 4.
Well, so, you know, with you deciding, obviously your career definitely kept going and many, many great things have happened since then. So with that loyalty, how did it serve you later? Like, did it just like, how did it serve you? I guess that's really
Well, it
what I would
served
like
me
to-
because Timmy saw that I was loyal and we kept our relationship going. And
Yeah.
as time went on, you know, Timmy left Motown and I went my way, and you know, over the years. But Timmy ended up ended up at another label at DreamWorks years later.
Yeah.
You know, by this time I done produced a lot of people by
Yeah.
this time, and so it came back because I had a group at that time, and he was working at DreamWorks.
There it is.
And so we had another, you know, I hadn't seen him in a long time,
Right.
and he ended up signing the group.
Right.
So imagine,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
Right.
It comes back and you don't know.
You don't know.
You don't know who.
That's amazing.
You don't know who you're going to piss off
That's right.
That's true.
and see again.
Talking about young artists listening, you've been known to develop artists. I heard an interview when you talked about Trey Songz, and you know, Willpower and I talk about on this podcast about artist development. How artist development is so important,
Which is a lost art right now.
Yes.
very much so. You said something that really struck me, and I just wanted to call Will immediately when I heard it on the interview. By the way, I told him when I got here. You said that Trey Songz was the only. You met him. He I think was 15. Was the only.
He was the only one that listened to every
Yeah.
single thing that I said to do.
And that's rare.
That is
Now-
very rare.
It's very rare, but I didn't know how rare it was 2 years later.
Yeah.
To see, wait, I thought about it. He never said, huh?
You're right.
Why? I mean, man, all the things that goes into artists being defiant
Yeah.
and not listening.
Yeah.
Look, huh? They heard you clearly.
That's right.
But huh means I don't really want to do it.
That's
Now,
exactly
huh
what
doesn't
it
mean
means.
I didn't hear you. Huh means,
Exactly.
and then the other, yo, you should listen to that again. What are you talking about? I heard it the first time.
Right.
Do it again.
That's right.
That whole little conversation right there,
Never happened.
it's just a diversion.
Yeah.
To try not to do it again.
Exactly.
Trey never did any of that.
That's amazing, man.
Never.
What's up, y'all? This episode is brought to you by DistroKid. DistroKid is a service that musicians use to put music into online stores and streaming services. This includes iTunes, Spotify, Apple Music, TikTok, Amazon, Deezer, Tidal, and many more. DistroKid collects earnings and payments and sends 100% of the earnings to artists. Artists can also pay their collaborators. You can also get a hyperfollow to get more Spotify followers and promote your releases. DistroKid is also the first distributor to send music to TikTok. Use this link to get 40% off your first year's DistroKid membership. DistroKid.com/VIP/free game. All that information is in our description. Holla at your boy.
Welcome back to the Free Game Producer Podcast. We are here with the legendary Troy Taylor.
Yes.
We're talking about some of his production over the years. Now, you produced for a lot of heavyweights, like Aretha Franklin and Patti LaBelle, Whitney Houston even. What was it like working with some of these legends? And could you tell us what you learned and maybe some cool stories about working with these heavyweights?
By the way, none of these people I ever dreamed working with. You know, sometimes some people are just so so it's incredible that you don't dare even think about working with them. How dare you think about working with Aretha Franklin?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's Aretha. You know,
Right.
She is the vocal voice. Nah. But when the opportunity came, as unbelievable as it was, I was prepared for it.
Yeah.
Because I grew up listening to Aretha Franklin. So it's like I know what I got to do. I know what to do. Upon working with her, man, you talk about sharp. You talk about on point. This chick plays the piano and writes songs.
Yeah.
And she is the vocal voice of ever. You got to be on point. One thing I learned, though, about her is that she prepares, the old school way. She prepares so she knows what she's going to do with the song before you get there.
Wow.
And so there is no lyric sheet. She gave me tracks, singing down, no punch-ins.
Really?
Singing down 6 or 7 tracks, and then she'll get out the booth and so, okay, see what you can do with that.
What?
Like, what? Incredible. So that's what I learned about her, because remember, I was very, very hard. I was a very hard producer on people, and only because I wanted excellence, not perfection. Excellence is a difference.
There is a difference.
Excellence,
Yes.
not perfection, because there's no such thing as being perfect.
Right.
Nobody in the world is. And if you are perfect, think you are, you're going to lose a lot of people, because no one knows what it feels like to be perfect. So if you're sitting up here thinking you're perfect, you lose. There's no connection.
That's right.
And it's just be like, I can't do that. I can't. So you make people push away. But if you are excellent, people want to strive for excellence, because that is a tangible thing.
Yeah.
So with Aretha, I just noticed that, if you let her do her thing first, that was the key. Let her do her ideas first. Then she'll ask you what you need. And if you produce her anywhere near trying to do, can I get that again? Or in the middle of her phrasing and do that. Woo.
Yeah.
She'll be like, I wasn't finished.
Woo.
Let me get my full ideas out, please. Thank you. Now,
Wow.
I don't have that experience, because when I was doing this one song, I had a co-producer, Gordon Chambers, who was with me. And he had co-wrote the song, and he was trying to get something that as a fan, he was trying to get her to do something that he wanted her to do in this particular song. And what he wanted her to do was based off of stuff that he grew up listening to. Mm-hmm. Well, that wasn't what she was feeling.
Right.
And so when she cut him, I was like, I'm glad it's you, not me. I was like, stop. Just let her do what she do. No, but it'd be great if she just... So I learned, because I watched M. Not that I was going to do that anyway, but nah, man, she was so on point. And then at this particular time, this particular song I'm talking about, is called "The Only Thing Missing," and we recorded it at her house, because they just set up a booth in her dining room, and we recorded it right there. And so when she finished, the engineer had to do something, and so I just went walking around the house, just looking, being nosy. Just walking, and I looked over to the piano, and she had the lyrics, on the piano, and she had the lyrics of the song, and she had notation marks on certain parts of the lyric. And so I looked, and I'm like, whoa, she knew exactly what she was. I've never seen it. Like, she knew exactly where she was going to go up, where she was going to go down, and everything. So she was well prepared.
Wow.
And it's like, wow, okay. I get it.
That's
These
crazy.
kids are not doing nothing. Line by line,
Right.
word by word, breath by breath.
Freestyling.
Yeah.
Freestyle. I'm like, that's why she's the queen.
Yeah.
It's one of my greatest memories of her.
Well, so that brings me to just kind of talk about what's going on now, because vocal performances have certainly changed. People are not singing as full anymore. People are not trying to, do really dope runs or even have chord progressions in their records for the most part. What does that say to a producer like yourself? And what does that say as far as like where you think the music industry is going? Is this a lost art? Are we like, is that era gone where we used to have like real singers and real power and, we waited for these great moments in records? What's up with that?
Let me point out something and watch you go, wow. We grew up in an era where we went to church and we listened to church singers and we mimicked what they did in church because a lot of the runs and everything started in church.
Yes.
And it brought it out. Aretha Franklin, she was queen runs.
Yeah.
And she brought that out of the church into R&B music. These kids don't go to church now.
They don't go to church, man. Come on.
They don't go to church. They got a choice.
Point
and they don't
blank.
go. And they don't sing in the choir.
That's so crazy.
The church, the church as a whole is different now. It's praise and worship. It's not that like straight up church anymore. And everybody's wanting to make sure they accommodate everyone's spiritual beliefs and don't want to, so all of that gut bucket spirituality that I grew up on, it doesn't really exist anymore. And so they don't have a reference of what to sing like.
Right.
And there aren't anyone doing runs unless you listen to gospel music.
That's right.
And if you don't listen to gospel music, who are you mimicking? Right. I grew up mimicking Stevie Wonder. Yeah. And Charlie Wilson and Aretha Franklin for runs, specifically for runs. And that's on the R&B side. Then you got Vanessa Bell Armstrong, you got Commission, you got the Winans, you got the Clark sisters. These are the people I listen to for the runs and the harmonies. Yeah. They don't have any references.
That's a reference.
So there's no flavor.
That's an incredible answer, man. Cause the truth is, like, I never thought about that.
Yeah, they don't go to church.
And I just think that is so real. It's like there's no reference point.
And then you got the auto-tune that strips all the natural nuances in your voice out, just straight out.
Yeah, like it's really hard to find. Like when you hear an artist with tone, you almost like
it's
you're
like a
whoa.
rare. Like,
and then and I'm from an era where I'm like, that tone is all right. I mean, come on, man. Like come on, man. But I get it now, and that's crazy to me, man. I'm noticing too, man. You have really good insight, like to be able to identify that is also what I think is part of why you're a great record producer. I think that a lot of people don't realize how much a record producer has to pay attention to all things when they walk in a room. In order for us to cut a record and to complete a task of that sort, it's about recognizing everything. Like if a person comes in and they're like winded or their mood is different or, we're the type of producers who I don't really like to come to many sessions with a song done unless I completely wrote it for someone. Most of the times though, it's like I want to get in with an artist. I want to feel it out and see what it is. Where are we going with this? And so I had to learn early in my career how to make a record around what was going on sometimes. But I noticed that about you. In order to answer that question and so freely and quickly, it's like you paying attention to things that most that's really dope.
Every breath, that's rhythm.
It is.
That's a percussion.
Come on.
You know what I'm saying? That's in between the words. And that's going to set up the feeling of the next line. Come on, dude. Like, so all that punching and then clean it. And then you got the space. Where's the breath?
Well, yeah, right.
You took the breath out. The breath is the feeling. It's the setup. Like, you can't take the breath out. Like, what? Sheesh, guys. There's no emotion.
Man, I'm so happy right now, bro. Finally, dog. I'm talking to somebody who understands what I be trying to talk about with my. Yeah, so we get in with our artists and we're always trying to I don't know, man. I'm searching for that. That's what I'm always looking for. I'm like, who naturally gets the feeling? You know, and that's when I think the magic happens, when they come in and they naturally get the feeling.
Yeah.
It's like when you're forcing the whole thing, it's like, this feels forced. I don't care. I could listen to a record 20 times and still never get a feel from it because it's like, I know what this was. I know this whole thing was put together. They just don't feel the same, man.
No. People they make reference to stuff, but they don't mimic it. Like if you say Michael Jackson, what are you talking about? Michael used breaths.
Yeah.
For the rhythm.
As part of the record.
Pay attention to that? Like, and you're cutting the breaths out?
Yeah.
Like, that's the part to set up the rhythm of the next. You need that. But you want to be great like Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Right.
I feel you.
All you studied was the moonwalk. You wasn't listening to this song, man.
They just studied the idea of being big.
Come on, man. Boy, this is too good, man.
They ain't studied the whole process.
That's dope.
So talk about some of these newer records, you know, that you produced that have that kind of emotion in it. That kind of, I know, I didn't realize you had did that Tank Jacquees Lil Duval record until I researched it. But that gave me a feel. You know what I mean? So like, you know, what was it like producing that record and other records like that in 2019, 2020?
We talking about Duval, which is so funny. Well, I was asked to vocal produce him on a song that they had already. So he came to the house, and so I got him to do the song, you know. And then after we had finished that, he was like, "Yo, man, what you got? Play me something." I was like, "Oh, okay.
That's what we doing? Okay."
Yeah. Okay. And I played when I played Nasty, he sat there and he was like, I don't know if I could do that. I'm like, dude, you could do that. It's not hard. And you know, it's in my range. It's in your range. Dude, just try it. That's another thing. People don't like to sound bad first.
It's okay.
Oh, you supposed to open your mouth to sound good?
Every time? Right. Yeah.
That doesn't even make sense. So it's like, nah, get it out. Just get the corks and the kinks and the cracks out. It's okay. We're not on stage.
Right.
There's a bunch of people. We're in the studio. This is the place to do it.
That's right.
Well, when he started on it, it was like the song was done for Trey about a year ago, prior to coming out.
Trey Songz.
So we did it in 2018. We did it in 2000. No, yeah, because it came out in 2000. No, it came out 2019. So we did it in 2018. Okay. So even when I played it for Trey was like, "Yo, you should play that for Jacquees." And I'm like, "Why would I want to do that when I got you?" Yeah. He's like, "Nah, man, I think that'll go hard for Jacquees." So I always remembered that. So he liked the song. He just felt like it would be a good look. And I never got to Jacquees at that time. So when I played it for him, he did it right on the spot. When I got him to sound good, he got excited, and that was that. He did the whole song, and so after about a couple of weeks later, it was like, "Yo, you think, dude, we can get Jacquees on it? That would be dope." He's like, "Man, Jacquees, you know." I said, "Sure, I asked him." So it took a while, but the other part, the bridge was I added piano to it because now we were talking about putting other people on it. Yeah. I had piano on it because the idea of the next person was supposed to be for Jamie Foxx. And so I did a piano for the bridge, and Duval didn't. He said that he just noticed Jamie was really, really busy and he didn't want to keep holding up thing, but when he played it for Tank just jumped on it immediately. So it all came together like it so perfectly. But dang, that song is supposed to be on the radio and it's not on the radio. It's like it's a perfect radio type song. Yeah. And it streams well, but it's not on the radio. And I don't know if it's because it's being on an independent label, but I really thought that record would be all over
I
the
did
radio.
too, man. Like my story on that record, I partnered with Columbia Sounds Mastering down there with Irvin.
Yeah.
And so I was just visiting one weekend when the record came in. He mastered the record. Yes. So And I'm just sitting in there. I'm minding my business. I'm on my phone. You know what I'm saying? And you know, Irv is he's got his way of doing
Shout out to
things.
Irv.
Yeah.
And so this record came on, and I'm just in there like, oh, what is this, bro? What is this? And so we laughed about it because, you know, the lyrics are crazy and everything, man.
Yes.
But I said to myself, I was like, well, that's it. Duval got another one, bro. That's another one. And so I feel the same way you do.
Yeah.
I just knew this record was about to catch and go crazy, which it still might. You know how this goes.
Yeah, no,
right?
yeah, for sure.
At any point, they might just push the button and it's out of here. But I thought it was an amazing record. And I liked it because it, of course, with Duval, it captured a comedic piece to it, but it still felt pretty serious.
It was a real record.
A real record,
a real
you know,
record.
and they were saying things on the record. I love the record.
Well,
man.
he did all that because the record, when the lyrics wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
Until he got on it. Yo, what if I say this? Yeah, what if I say this? I don't know. Yo, it would be funny if I say this. I'm like, oh God. Here we go.
I did want to speak to you about the detail in your work. You know, speaking of Irv, man, you know, for many years he's, you know, we've talked about the work you send him and how you guys have a relationship in music. But what he loves most is your attention to detail. Like, it's nothing to get, like, you'll send a record back for remastering, or, you know, or you already know what you want a record to sound like. Of course, I know that comes from experience, but is there a Troy Taylor feel that you look for in your music? Like, you know, like, I like my music warm. I like to have a little punchy vibe to it. You know, are there certain things that I don't, you might not want to share that with us, but you know what I'm saying? Is there like a thing that you listen to?
By the way, guys, there is nothing. I didn't get in this game to withhold.
Free game.
Free game.
I love it, man.
How dare you? You know what I'm saying? Like, how dare you get to be successful and don't give it back?
Come on, man.
You already used it.
Come on,
what are you
man.
doing with it? Nah, you know, young man, you got to learn that on your own. He gonna do it anyway. Let me just tell you.
Let me get this out of the way.
And
Let's go.
Now you can never say nobody ain't tell you.
There it is.
But
man.
no, I think in answering that question, which is an interesting question, my answer is I look for R&B.
Free game.
What's up, y'all? This episode is brought to you by DistroKid. DistroKid is a service that musicians use to put music into online stores and streaming services. This includes iTunes, Spotify, Apple Music, TikTok, Amazon, Deezer, Tidal, and many more. DistroKid collects earnings and payments and sends 100% of the earnings to artists. Artists can also pay their collaborators. You can also get a hyperfollow to get more Spotify followers and promote your releases. DistroKid is also the first distributor to send music to TikTok. Use this link to get 40% off your first year's DistroKid membership. distrokid.com/VIP/free game. All that information is in our description. Holla at your boy.
Free game.
My process for my new producers or engineers or anyone who really wants to work here is you got to basically do the internship side of it, which is the cleaning, the wiping windows, you know, whatever it takes to get to the actual studio with us. There's a small period of time determined by me, of course, how long that's going to go. You know, if you're a person who keeps your head down and gets it done, no questions asked,
Man,
then
that goes
we
a
move you
long
up
way.
super fast. You know what I'm saying? But like, it's, you know, I think you're speaking to what people should be doing more of. You know, it's the reason why the industry's even more wild west now, because there's been no respect added to it.
Nope.
It's like we weren't, you know, we don't just deserve this. You have to earn it.
Yeah, but you know, the artist development of today is social media.
Yeah. And you know, there's some good in that. Not a lot. The part about the artist development that I don't like now is the instant gratification side of it. It's like a person could put out one good song and all of a sudden they just been told by like 200 people that it's amazing. And so you got to deflate that side of it. And it's like, we haven't done anything until 2, 3, 4 million people tell us it's great.
Yeah.
That's how I see it. And until then, the work isn't done. And even then, it's like, okay, so now we got to take over the world. Like, I'm not satisfied with just that either. We should be working to be super great. But we don't have anybody I don't see anybody right now that I would say is trying to be Michael Jackson status anymore. People are not literally, and I'm not saying they don't exist. I just say that it's far and few, between. But I'm still gonna keep fighting the good fight for that, man. You know what I mean?
Because it's an era. It's an era, and then sooner or later we're gonna go right back into an era where they do care, where they do want it.
Yeah.
We're just in an era where social media suggests that whatever you do to do what you do and to get people to watch you, that's your thing. How dare you tell me what I have to perfect when you just came and you watch me all the time?
Yeah.
So whatever you watching for, that's what I do. So I don't gotta adjust it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That ain't it. Man, listen, I'm gonna tell you now, man. I got so much from this interview. Like, this was for me. You feel me? Like, I know our fans are gonna love this and get a lot from it, man. But like, to talk to someone that I look up to and know how great you're doing things and have done things, you should know that you have people like myself out here that are modeling their business behind what I've seen you do. You know what I mean? And this is my first time really like talking to you.
Right,
and I've seen you many, many times. We always run into each other. However, your lineage or your legacy is beyond what you could ever imagine. You know what I mean? You have students that have come through here that are who they are because they learned what they learned from you. And so I just appreciate it, man. And I really hope to be able to someday have people speaking upon me like this, because I've identified what it is that I'm good at, and it's really similar to what you do.
I appreciate that.
I just appreciate you, man.
Thank you.
And like I said, your time is very valuable to me. So this has been dope, man.
Hey, man.
You know what I'm saying?
I will talk all night.
And we're gonna bring you back for more.
I was just gonna say that down the road we gotta do a part 2 because there's so many.
Yeah,
There's so many things to talk about. It's so many
much we want to get to.
Yeah, I certainly want to bring you back. I also want to just offer to you, if you have any artists you want to bring on here to talk. If you just want to come here and talk about anything, you're welcome.
I'm gonna take you up on it.
Yeah, look, I'm ready for it.
Free gang.
Yo, we hope you enjoyed this episode of the Free Game Podcast. If you did enjoy it, make sure you subscribe to the Airbit channel right below. Just hit subscribe on the button below. Or you can go to youtube.com/airbit. You know what I'm saying? If you're feeling the podcast, make sure you share it. Let your friends know. Also, there's an audio version of the podcast. Look in the notes below and you'll see where to subscribe to that at.
Yeah.
Free Game Podcast.
Free gang.